All right, welcome to Do or Don't See, the only podcast you can hear all the latest in television entertainment news from too many hosts that crash their Scion TCs going 100 miles per hour. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Bergen. The third one is
Kyle Ridger. I would say that I am the Harper to John's Robert and Dave, who's always got us on the chopping block, is Eric.
Oh boy.
You're always telling us what to do.
Oh boy.
You have no respect for our time.
I don't know about Eric. Okay, yes, I guess, yes, okay. You got industry. You got industry on the mind, Kyle. Season 2 premiere, we'll talk about that. I referenced a little bit of The Rehearsal, Nathan Fielder's new show. I hope everyone has their orange juice, no pulp.
no pulp.
You know, sitting by their table here, ready to go for our breakdown of the first 4 episodes of that series. We got some quick checks, and we have this first segment, and I can't remember what it is. John, what is it?
In and out points.
Yes, it is in and out points. Now, last week we actually had like 3 or 4 in and out points just about Netflix. Tonight we have all the in and out points pretty much about one topic and one streaming service. We got a new clip for it. I think a little play on last week's segment. John?
What the is going on?
Yeah, so normally we ask what the Q is going on at Netflix. Let's ask what the HBO is going on at Warner Brothers here. Because, okay, so back in April, we discussed the deal between Warner Brothers Discovery, or Warner Brothers and Discovery. I'm getting confused with their name. It's too much. It's a mouthful. Warner Brothers and Discovery had a deal. They are merging. We talked about it back in April. If you were on Twitter last week, though, you saw all the rumors of what this may mean for the future of that company and HBO Max. And that is what we're really just going to break down tonight in this mega segment, because so much happened with this one story. It was everywhere. It really kicked into high gear when Warner Brothers announced that the $90 million production of Batgirl, which was completed and was in post, was not going to be released. It wasn't going to be delayed. It wasn't going straight to streaming. It just was going to be gone, erased from existence. John, this is wild.
I don't get it. Like, how is it more cost effective to just absolutely scrap something? I just don't get it. Release it in some form. People want to see it. People worked hard on it. Like, I just don't get it. I can't conceive of how it would possibly be cheaper not to have it.
It's some kind of weird Mel Brooks, the producers thing here. It's like, we can make more money with a flop than a hit. But this is like, we can make more money not doing something than doing it. It's what?
I could see if they hadn't filmed it and they hadn't put all the money, they were still in pre-production or something. They're like, all right, let's can it now. Let's cut our losses. You already paid for the whole thing.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it's done. You know, like.
So did they just not want to pay like any marketing for it?
Yeah. So what I've been hearing is that this film was starting to be being tested out there, and those with test screenings wasn't playing too great. So it's like, okay, maybe it's going to be a mixed film. And this film was initially going to HBO Max. It was going to be like these specific for the streamers. And now with this new CEO, they're kind of changing their strategy. They said, quote, "The decision not to release Batgirl reflects our leadership's strategic shift as it relates to the DC universe and HBO Max." So they're trying to like move past like the big budget films made directly for streaming and really focus on like theatrical films. But
which is so ironic because Disney's doing like the opposite thing.
Yeah.
Disney's
Netflix
making more
the Gray
available
Man, yeah,
to Disney Plus and things like that, and adding on to their theatrical. It's becoming a part of that, unless they felt so poorly about the work that was done that they didn't even want this associated with them. But I heard rumors that like DC wasn't even at like Comic Cons or like some like regional Comic Cons. So it's like, how are you expecting to build your fan base if you're not putting stuff out there? And granted, I'm not like a huge superhero person, but like
the whole DC strategy is
the
throwing
plan
spaghetti
here?
at the wall and seeing what sticks. It really is
it
just
doesn't
all
make
over
any
the place.
sense.
But the other idea is with this, it's like, okay, well, they don't want to spend the extra 20, 30, 40, 50 million on reshoots or additional scenes to beef it up for theaters. They don't think it's going to be worth it to spend that extra whatever, making it a $200 million Marvel film to make it ready for theaters. So they're like, well, instead of spending more money for theaters, let's not even put it on our streaming service, which we own, which it was going to anyways.
It makes no sense. It's like, why not start at a future date? I mean, if you are so like down on this film, the only good things could happen, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to market it, maybe you put it out there and it blows up.
It's a
Now
sleeper
you've
hit,
got an unexpected hit on your hands that you weren't even envisioning that happen. And then that can open things up for you. Unless they totally have just shifted away from this whatever plan they initially had and don't see it going any further, no matter what happened here. I just don't know what the...
They're worried about tarnishing the DC brand. Have you seen a DC film? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this film isn't going to change things, but it's just also wild because like this strategy of releasing these films direct to streaming, you know, as Kyle, you mentioned, Disney's doing it, Netflix is doing it. It's been working for HBO and HBO Max. Subscribers are up. HBO was named one of like the best streaming services recently. It's just it's just wild to throw out the playbook and go back to something. And they're talking about like, because even after the day and date thing didn't really work out post 2022 or whatever, whatever. Now they're saying, well, we might not do the 45-day window, which we landed on. I think Elvis was supposed to be up on the streaming service after 45 days. Now they're like, we'll do it for some films. Probably the films that don't connect at the box office will be 45 days. The ones that connect, we'll put them up whenever we want. The old 3, 4, 5 month, maybe later strategy. But it's just Batgirl wasn't like this. It's just wow. This isn't like some like really C-level film. Mm-hmm. It starred In the Heights, Leslie Grace as the star here, but the cast included Michael Keaton as Batman. That's big. J.K. Simmons, Brendan Fraser. There was a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah,
and to just like write it off is wild.
It's wild. And the other thing you were just mentioning, like that it's popular, it's growing in subscribers, and HBO Max in general, I think could even grow further, because I think what I read was that HBO Max isn't even like totally international. Like Netflix has a further reach. Yeah. Netflix is hitting more countries. HBO Max isn't. So HBO Max actually had more room for growth, subscriber growth, if they wanted to go more international. So I don't... Yeah. It's just confusing to me why they would do this. I mean, Scooby-Doo movies, I mean, some of those are straight to DVD anyways, but I could imagine that kids are going to want to watch that. So
so like with this, they spent for Scooby, they sent $40 million on that animated film. Scooby-Doo Holiday Hunt was this or Holiday Haunt was the sequel, and that was canceled too. And it's just like, like put it on streaming. And there's so many, all those like Pixar movies that went to streaming helped Disney Plus's numbers. I'm sure this would have helped too, to have a film here, especially, maybe in the September, October holiday time for Halloween. Mm-hmm. It's just, they were so close to being done with this film. And it was so short notice that they were canceled that they had already paid for the stage and the musicians needed to record the film's score. They were already paid, so they decided this week to do it anyways. Even though the film's canceled and it's not going to see the light of day, well, we already paid for this, we might as well do it, like go through the motions. This is just wild, because $40 million for Scooby, $90 million for Batgirl. Meanwhile, they have this $200 million Flash film with the nightmare that is Ezra Miller. That's still a go. They mentioned in the earnings call, at least last week, before minutes ago, we found out he was charged with another crime. Like, it's like, that's still on. We're still doing that one. We're not writing that off.
I think they pumped way too much money into it to go back on that one. I think that's the thinking there.
I get confused again, as John was saying. It's like, well, they spent $90 million on this one, so that one can be written off, but then this one that's $200 million can't be. Like, it's just, I just don't know how you're gonna market that film with Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
Ezra Miller's not gonna go on the Tonight Show and like, what's gonna happen here?
You just need to get a random dude in a Flash uniform just to every late night appearance.
Yeah, but yeah, so. A lot of this comes down with kind of the change of leadership at Warner Brothers Discovery, and the new CEO is kind of leading this kind of bloodbath of cancellations. It's since April, since he took over. I'll just name a few of the things. I mean, obviously he closed the $300 million CNN Plus debacle after a month after launching that service. J.J. Abrams had an HBO original series with about $200 million budget. That was pulled. There was cancellations all over the place on TNT and TBS. I mean, they had Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. That was just canceled. Chad, which I believe I mentioned you guys in a text chain that was all set to premiere that night. Canceled. It was all shot. It was done. It was ready to go. You did the marketing. Nope, we're not airing it. And all of this is done supposedly as some kind of tax write-down. They didn't want to spend more money to, enhance anything or, put these assets out there. But by doing this, they cannot monetize these ever. They can't put them on HBO Max and put them out there. They can't sell them to another studio. These things are just gone now.
What, do you delete the file? So, what is that? What becomes of all this? Is all the source footage? Like, can they re-edit a different version of it? No, because it's for the whole production. So what do? Do you burn your hard drive? Like,
write down. I don't even know what any of that means.
This is, I sent it to you guys. This is in Seinfeld when Kramer's like, we'll blame the broken stereo on the post office. It's a write-off for him. It's like, how is this a write-off? They just write it off. You don't even know what a write-off is. I don't, but they do, and they're the ones writing it off. This is exactly that.
Oh my God.
What is happening? And supposedly
either way,
it's $825 million write-off. Like, what?
That they're going to recruit by not showing this. This isn't what is just like made up money land. What, am I living in a different universe than these people are? What? How does this work out?
To have $825 million just something, what?
But I feel like even if you, and I kind of mentioned this in a text to you guys, it's like, if you have all this content, at least lease it out or license it in some way.
They can't if they want the write-off.
I know,
it's just nuts.
But it's like, I feel like over time, you got to make more money with the content than just immediately getting money, unless you want to immediately get the money to then make, 80 shows about, 35-day fiance, 36-day fiance. 39-day fiance.
Wow. Yeah, it's just wild too because this is the same studio, different leadership, but the same studio that spent $70 million extra, just extra $70 million on reshoots for that Zack Snyder's Justice League movie, that Snyder cut. It didn't exist. They had to spend $70 million to fix it up and to appease some people that we later find out were just bots on the internet anyways. It's just like, but we can't spend not $1 more on Batgirl. We can't do it. Too much.
Scrap.
Wild.
Not worth it.
Wild. And
we'll take the write down, sir. I don't know what that means. I don't either. But we're gonna make money from it.
Send it off to accounting. They'll figure it out.
This has to be some of like the worst PR. Like if I was any part of talent, an actor, writer, director, I would really look the other way now with working with Warner Brothers Discovery, because I mean, Christopher Nolan back whenever it was, 2 years ago, called HBO Max like the worst streaming service after the news that maybe his, all the COVID films, all the 2020, 2021 films were going to go to HBO Max day and date with theaters. there was a lot of bad blood in Hollywood after that decision. They had to do a lot of write-offs to all the talent involved to make them okay with it. Now, flash forward, and creatives like the directors of Batgirl and all the cast and crew of that spent years of their lives working on something. They were unable to work on other things, and it's gone.
And they have no final product to show for it, to show for all the years of hard work. So, and no one has any idea if it was good or not. So how do they know if they can trust you to make something, you know?
There was this story also that like the DC Films president, Walter Hamada, was on the verge of exiting the studio after news of this, thing, this shelf Batgirl. He was like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this. And he, probably people got involved, lawyers and, some money or whatever happened. And it was agreed that he would at least remain on the post through Black Adam, which is going to be released in October. But like, you're really pissing off a lot of people here. It's like, why would I want to bring my project to Warner Brothers Discovery? I could be greenlit. I could shoot it. I could be in post and ready to premiere it that night. And then you just said, nope, it's gone. Bye. Just like,
I mean, yeah, and I get it. And we're talking Warner Brothers is one of the oldest studios. I mean, most recognizable studios in Hollywood, and just it's crazy to me that even Discovery's coming in, and Discovery somehow has more power.
We'll get to that.
But it's just like, I mean, I don't know why Warner Brothers is doing this to their own brand. But at the end of the day, in reality, there's only so many studios. So where else are you going to bring your project?
And all these things are combining. They're merging.
Yeah.
Crazy to think that at the end of Game of Thrones, we were like, who would blow their opportunity with HBO and just, make a crappy end to a show when everyone wants to be there. And now who's going to want to be there? Like, I don't know. It's just, that's crazy to me that you could just take so many things and be like, not feeling it,
Yeah. And that's not all. All these productions are like, we're in production, quote unquote, still. There's some already completed materials that are being removed without warning on HBO Max. There was a bunch of Max original movies like The American Pickle with Seth Rogen, Lockdown, The Witches, just to name a few of those movies. Plus, you have a bunch of different kind of HBO series like Mrs. Fletcher with Katherine Hahn. There was that short-lived but much buzzed about Vinyl. Lena Dunham had a show, Camping, Run by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. All those are just gone now off HBO Max. They're not there anymore.
But so what? First off, why? Are they going to license them to another studio and that's why they can't be on their site anymore? Because why else would you take down content that people might want to watch? I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't have the stuff in front of me if, like, let's say Mrs. Fletcher is
another studio or something?
Was 20th Century Studios that did this for HBO. I don't have that exactly in front of me, but like I would assume that these HBO Max original movies like American Pickle was an HBO Max like production. And for that to just disappear is wild because streaming platforms will always add and remove content, they don't own it, they're licensing it, whatever. But what's unusual is like, one, they didn't announce that these were going away. Normally they'll say like, oh, what's leaving in August? No announcement for these removals. And then these are HBO originals. Like, can you imagine if like Netflix was just like, Stranger Things, let's just take it down for a month. It's just like, like what?
Yeah.
Like I know Stranger Things is not vinyl, for HBO, but like if this starts here, like where does it stop? And I guess they're going to hope that they can license them out. I mean, you could still buy and rent these like movies on VOD. So they're still there to, buy and rent. But like, it's just, I thought, streaming was supposed to make things easier. Like, oh, you get the content at your fingertips. But then you see stuff like, I don't know, like the Harry Potter films. Those are Warner Brothers films. And we'll see a slide later that they are showing Warner Brothers, or Harry Potter is Warner Brothers like pillars. That's one of their franchises. It was announced this week that 8 of those films, the whole series of Harry Potter, is going to be licensed out to another streaming service for the next few months. I get it.
Just to
I guess.
make a few extra cash?
Yeah. But like you would think it's like hold on to these things and like get people to be like the association, because like right now, you know, people go to probably Peacock to watch Yellowstone, even though that's a Paramount Network show. And now it's like, okay, where do I get Harry Potter? Oh, it's on Peacock. That must be a Universal property. Like you're confusing and oversaturating the brand. It's just
Is HBO in the red? Is that what we're like? I mean, tell me one thing we've discussed tonight that doesn't point to that. Like, they're trying to make money or save money everywhere. Is it? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know how they could be in the red when they've got a known subscriber base with a known budget coming in. I mean, it's one of the
why are they doing this?
I don't know.
maybe all those make goods for, again, like when all those movies that were supposed to be in theaters, like, oh, we got to pay Denzel Washington and you know, the actors of Wonder Woman 1984, we got to give them their make goods because it's not going to be in theaters anymore. Maybe they're catching up to that. I don't know. It's just wild that stuff can just like disappear. You know, we don't have a lot of this stuff isn't released on physical media anymore. You used to be able to buy the DVD of this stuff if it was your favorite movie or show and you could have it. But now they could just be pulled. And I saw this like story from the creator of Dickinson on Apple TV Plus. And she said how she spent like the last day on set calling an executive at Apple begging for a physical recording of her show. And people thought she was crazy. It's like, what are you doing? It's gonna be streaming whenever you want it. It's right there. And now she has the only physical copy of the show that she spent a decade of her life making. Because at the end of the day, Apple TV Plus one day could be like, let's remove it. Maybe we'll license it out at some point.
I mean, that's the whole problem with digital media to begin with. I mean, even we've talked about it before with the iTunes stuff. I mean, anything you buy could still be taken away by Apple or any of these companies. So if you have a physical copy, it feels like we're going in a circle with media because the companies at large are trying to figure out how to monetize streaming, and they're adding money to the subscription fee, which is declining rates. And then the cost of licensing. I don't know if these companies are wondering, is it not worth it in the long run to keep doing this? I don't know. But I feel like they're lying to us when I see 8,000 streamers that I don't even know about just popping up in commercials. Like, watch PV, watch CV. It's like, what are these streaming services? And they have these shows. So clearly you're licensing your stuff to them as well. You have to be making money somewhere. Yeah. What is happening to all this? I said this to you guys. No one is asking anyone to pay Ryan Murphy $500 million to give you a script. Not even, you know what I mean? Not even a finished show. Just to develop something? Are you crazy? It doesn't make any sense.
Throwing money away or lighting it on fire, I should say. And that was only like the spark of the discussion around HBO Max and Warner Brothers Discovery this week. The internet went nuts last week with just rumors that were circulating. And I'll read off a few of the rumors, then we can talk about what was actually announced. But rumors circulated that HBO Max would be folded into Discovery Plus, and that pretty much HBO would just be like a tile on Discovery Plus. HBO Max, the scripted division, would be scrapped and folded into HBO, which would mean that like around 70% of the HBO Max development team would be laid off, and that there would be a heavy focus on unscripted content. That is what Discovery Plus focuses on, and that's what they thought the new HBO Max Discovery Plus would be all about. That kind of makes sense when you look at the leadership only. When you look at the leadership of who's behind the decision, okay, the CEO is a Discovery guy. He's not an HBO guy. So that's his thing. But then you look at the numbers, and the numbers just don't add up. These are the up-to-date subscriber numbers. HBO and HBO Max has 76.8 million subscribers. Discovery Plus, 24 million.
Boy, that's 2/3 more.
So why? I mean, HBO is the brand name. HBO is prestige. HBO is quality. HBO means something. Discovery doesn't mean as much as HBO. It just doesn't. So I don't understand why this rumor even existed, if it's true or what, but why it even is in the same sentence. I don't get it.
And with whatever the graphic they have here, it just seems like a good merger for the both of them rather than skewing in one direction. It's like, why don't we take these two fan bases and now we have a conglomerate. Now we have this person in the household and this person in the household. Not let's bomb this one and go all in on this other one. The only reason I could see that you do that is because the content over here is much, much cheaper. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It seems...
The graphic we have up on the Twitch stream is from the earnings call, and it's pretty much them saying what is like the difference between HBO Max and Discovery Plus at the moment, which is also wild. They gotten a lot of heat for this because it is kind of pretty much tone deaf of what these brands are. It says HBO Max here with hits like Hacks, Flight Attendant, Love Life is male skewed. Interesting. While Discovery Plus is female skewed and has more lean back programming versus lean in programming of HBO Max. So what are you trying to say? Discovery Plus is like, yeah, you could just like tune it on, put it on and just tune out and just like forget about it. It's not that great of a show. Just, whatever.
It's
comfort
on,
viewing. But HBO Max, that's the appointment view. It's like you're already like you're saying this one's not as good. Like, what are you doing by saying this?
I wonder how many viewers that they just get by random people tuning in or just random TVs on with those
in the waiting room.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you want to just have something in a waiting room that's, House Hunters or something like that, then I can understand. But
yeah, so these were all rumors going into Thursday's earnings call, and we got a tiny bit of information from that call. Next summer, HBO Max and Discovery Plus will merge. That is happening. That's real. But for now, we don't know the outcome or the name. It's like we don't know if, HBO Max will swallow Discovery or if Discovery will swallow HBO Max. We don't know that yet, but they will be merged in some way. And all I could think about is this is going to be such another like costly rebrand after they just did this 2 years ago after the HBO Now and Go and Max, and it's and then it goes back to the point of like, okay, well, already HBO Max is one of the more pricier subscriptions. You're going to raise the price up even more for us now because you're giving us the Discovery content that we don't want. This is like when YouTube TV, it's like, oh, guess what, guys? We got 10 new channels. We're going to raise it up by $15. You're like, no, I bought it at $30 when I wanted those channels. I don't want these channels. I would have bought a different service with it. It's, but
yeah, that's where they get you. These companies know that you want the one channel, and they're like, well, if you want that, you gotta package in these 80 other ones that you don't want, but we're gonna make you pay for.
Back to cable.
Yeah.
And you can really kind of actually see the priorities in of HBO Max and Warner Brothers Discovery and all that stuff here for the future. Because they have like a list of all the brands and franchises and the ones that they highlighted are kind of interesting. And just that top or the second row there, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Shark Week, Game of Thrones, and the 90 Day Fiancé universe. And those are like the top. Yeah, instead of the MCU, it's the 90 Day Fiancé universe.
NDFU.
Okay, so that's what we're going all in on. Those are the franchises and Harry Potter, even though it's not on your service anymore. They
just canceled Batman too. Come on, guys.
But okay, let's look at the iconic series and characters. Of course, everyone when they think of HBO, it's Friends, Fixer Upper, The Big Bang Theory, Property Brothers, and
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
What the?
Yeah, welcome to Flavortown.
Yeah.
Move over, Tony Soprano. Guy Fieri is the new face of the network now. It's like,
yeah. Oof.
Oh my God. Well, this is the future.
If you're Warner Brothers, why do you want your company associated with those? Unless the idea is to go separate again, like more HBO is HBO content and all this other stuff.
As long as HBO is not just the tile on Discovery Plus. Again, the CEO is a Discovery guy. So it's like he's going, that's where his allegiance is. But man.
But I mean, now you're a part of another company. Yeah. It's like.
You can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
I
in his
feel like
blood.
you would want to work.
Guy Fieri is in his blood. He can't get rid of it. But I got one last change here with a possible change for HBO Max and Discovery. They're talking about some kind of, Netflix and Disney Plus are exploring ad plans, doing an ad version of their site. And Warner Brothers was thinking of that for HBO Max, but they're also thinking that they may do the FAST service. And I don't know if you guys know what FAST is. FAST is the free ad-supported TV service. It's kind of like the Pluto TV, the Amazon's Freevee. It's TV just online. It's going to have the programs with commercials in between. You can stream it online, cable, pretty much. I believe it's scheduled.
Okay,
at least
so
I know Pluto TV is definitely scheduled.
Yes, that is.
Amazon's Freevee, it could be like, you get to choose. But I'm not entirely positive on that. But, there might be some available HBO content that you could watch completely for free, but it's going to have plenty of ads. That's the thing here. So
I don't have an issue with that if they leave the paid subscription ad free. You know what I mean? Like, how many times have we seen complaints of like Hulu, where you pay for the ad-free one, but it's not really ad-free. They still sneak a few in during the special, like...
I just had that tonight with Paramount Plus. I have the ad-free version, and it starts off with like how HBO Max will show a 30-second, minute preview of a different show, but you can at least skip it on HBO Max. Paramount Plus, I'm stuck watching it for a minute. Yeah. And I'm like, I've got the ad-free version. This is an ad.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I think TV is going to go soon. It's going to be ads, whether you have a subscription or not. Once I don't know. I don't know what's
be Minority
I just feel like that's where
ads are going to be everywhere again. Every single spot they can fit them, they're going to put them. I will say, I believe I figured out the culprit of this whole issue. As John was saying, HBO must be in the red. I think we can blame this thing on Nathan Fielder. I saw all these memes online where it's like, the plan, spend enough of HBO's money, to recreate the Alligator Lounge in a warehouse in Oregon. So its parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery, has no choice but to stop making superhero movies forever, thus saving American cinema. Master plan, Nathan. Okay, well, perfect transition to talk about our first show tonight. In order to talk about it, we have to go back. So guys, send us back.
We're back, baby!
Gotta get back in time.
The Rehearsal. Now, the premiere was July 15th, but we're actually going to talk about the first 4 episodes of the series so far. Orange Juice, No Pulp, Scion, Gold Digger, and The Fielder Method. Those are the 4 episodes we've seen so far. I believe there's 6 in this first season of The Rehearsal. Now, The Rehearsal features creator, writer, director, and star Nathan Fielder helping ordinary people rehearse difficult conversations or life events through the use of sets and actors hired to recreate real situations. There is a lot to unpack with this one. This one, as everyone knows, I'm a huge Nathan For You fan. And this one, I feel like, takes that on HBO's bigger budget and just is more absurd and maybe even a little bit more philosophical, maybe even. I don't know. We'll talk about it. I want to hear what you guys have thought so far of The Rehearsal. Let's start off with John. What do you think of the show so far?
Oh, man. The first episode came out swinging, and it got heavier and crazier from there. Holy cow. I am really enjoying this. I was unsure. We'll dive into it, but it seems like the first episode is kind of like a self-contained, and then the second episode kind of starts leaking into the next couple. And I was unsure what it was at first, or were we going to get a new episode every week? It kind of seemed like that was their intent, and then it spun off into something bigger. But I just you can't explain how crazy everything in this show is without watching it. There's no way to explain it.
I tried like summing up these episodes or even like telling my fiance, and it's impossible to explain these episodes. They're so convoluted, for lack of a better word.
Do
They're just
yourself a favor. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, at least watch the first episode before you listen to this, because the whole twist in the first 5 minutes is so worth watching rather than us having to explain it to you.
Yeah.
We'll put that there before we move on, but it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I do wonder, as you mentioned, John, that like the first episode, it's kind of its own thing, and then later episodes becomes a little bit something else. I have heard rumors online that could be some kind of like COVID pandemic thing where they did the first one as a pilot for HBO pre-pandemic. Each episode was going to be probably like very Nathan, for you, one thing. But then when that happened, it's like, oh, might have to scale some things back, or like,
I can see that too.
Take this one thing of a secluded Oregon house with only 3 people really in it, and let's expand that out and make that more of an ongoing arc, which we later get to. But to me, this reminds me a lot, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, of Charlie Kaufman's Schenectady, New York. And it's just like this guy who pretty much recreated a place, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it's like he recreated in so much detail that he ended up putting himself into that project, and again hiring actors, and that is like this weird thing of a rehearsal of a rehearsal of a rehearsal, which we'll get to. But yeah, the first episode definitely is like the most simple, and for me the funniest. It's just then again, you can't really say simple when it's like it involves recreating an entire Brooklyn bar in a warehouse and putting like trivia questions, like incepting them into someone's mind throughout the episode.
But also just the absurdity when they keep explaining, and then you think this is insane, and then it gets more insane, and it's just like the layer after layer after layer of it just makes you laugh. But then it's also like he's subverting what like the entertainment industry is like, and all these things, making fun of that as well. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, and then I mean, I knew the minute we saw this guy, he was a real character, and then his friend too is like. The thing is, like, each line of the show, each like famous line from the show is the title of the episode. It's like these crazy things that people say, and I mean, sometimes I think it says more about like people is like we say some things that are not great sometimes, but then in the end, we're all just trying to like survive. We have good traits, bad traits. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to like get better and evolve, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of heart in that first episode for sure. Of just like as not to, I guess I'll lightly spoil the first episode, but he has to reveal this secret to a friend, and it's been weighing on him for so long. When he finally does it, I guess he like ends up opening even more and saying all this stuff he hasn't told this friend in 20 years, and it's just like. Yeah. Wow, Nathan somehow brought these people together, and it made their relationship so much closer. But it's wild. Let's see. Hex in Hell in the chat said, I saw season 1 of the show, and all I could think was, what the F am I seeing? Is this real? And the second episode starts this kind of arc of Nathan raising a child with Angela in Oregon. And now I'll admit, I always love Nathan, and always usually the funny moments that with the show, it kind of lives and dies with the subjects. And for me, at least the second episode at first, and what we've been seeing of this arc, Angela is not my favorite character. No. There's just so much talk of religion and so much talk of God, and it's tough for me to get through with her. And then in the second episode, we have this character of Robin, who seemed, just odd at first. Well, the numerology and the Scion TC story and all that stuff. But then it's like, oh, like what is his motives here with Angela? And then we see this argument with his roommate. It's like, oh, maybe it's good that he went away. Like it's just so. when I saw the end of the second episode and I saw it was just like part one, I got real worried. I'm like, oh my God, please don't be like all season of just that. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it's just like an overall arc, because the other two episodes we've seen so far, it has elements of this, but there's at least another story,
It's a B story
that we
yeah.
can focus on.
Mhm.
So
And as much as I don't like her, I think that Nathan plays it off very well. I mean, the whole thing, and they made a whole trailer about this, was him going, "Oh, okay." Whenever he hears something that's like wacky and crazy, it's like she's like, "Oh yeah, the baby's skulls absorb radiation." Oh, okay. Like he's playing off of it so well, and that for me works more than the character, which his flat like nothing reaction is what works.
What was the things that she said about like Satan? Like something was in
Halloween.
with Halloween.
Oh yeah, and he was just like, "Oh, I thought it was just like some costumes and stuff." And she's like, "Yeah, you just haven't read up on it yet." And it's just like,
you gotta Google it, but you gotta know what to Google because Google's suppressing it. And like,
yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the stuff with the some oil that they want to like some jasmine
essential
oil or
oils,
something.
lavender oil, yeah.
And then you have to, of course, ask the parents because so they're raising this kid in this reality thing, and because of labor laws, you can't have a baby all day every day, so it's like they can only work in 4-hour shifts, so they got to switch out the kids, and then the kid is going to be aged up quickly so they can do this whole like 3-month experiment of like for an 18-year baby or something like that. But like they have to go to like the parents like, can we do this? And just like the expression on her face is like, I guess like
yeah.
Sure. But yeah, so we got the end of episode 2 and we get these 2 episodes of, and it's getting so complicated, it's like impossible to explain them. It's just episode 3, to help the rehearsal of someone asking for money that he believes is rightfully his. Nathan has him like outside of rehearsals help the fellow actor playing his brother in that situation, which will then lead him into having the same argument with the actor that he's actually rehearsing for his brother.
Because he was worried that he wasn't getting enough emotion, realness
invested.
to it because
he wasn't invested. Yeah.
So he was going for it, trying anything he can do, and he's using maybe the Fielder method, which is the 4th episode. He recreates his own acting class, where he is now the student listening to an actor playing him, and he has to fully embody one of his students so much that he somehow like shatters the 4th wall and shows the contract that he would sign if he was a participant on the HBO show that he is on. It's just like, what is happening? And I will say, it's kind of like some kind of like slightly commenting on like this internet takedown recently of Nathan Fielder. Is he exploiting these people? And it's like almost he put himself in their shoes for a second. Like, what is this contract I'm signing? Like, I guess it's okay. But man, like it was
after you've just been told to stalk somebody.
Yeah.
Like it's stalking and then like laugh, like light laughing about it.
But man,
funny.
it's just wild. And just based on the preview for the next episode, it looks like, from what I could gather, because again, they're cut really, oddly, so you don't really know. It looks like he could be rehearsing the rehearsal he is giving Angela. It looks like there was an actor playing Angela in another recreation of the house that he's in, doing this whole, it's just like, it's a turducken. It's just like, it's just, come on.
That's where HBO's money's going. That's why they're in the red.
Exactly. I do love how like he built this bar in some warehouse in New York City. Again, just went to the actual bar, but no, that wouldn't be funny. And then he broke it down piece by piece to ship it to Oregon, like to just
and then it
have
didn't fit in the warehouse they rented, so they cut the top off.
It's just wild.
But also what I think is hilarious is they use the shot of the woman at the end fake eating the chicken wing.
Yeah.
And like I thought they just played it off as a joke, but then they really brought it back because they showed it again in the next episode to be like, I question the acting of these people, the reality of what they're in, There's
so many good like callbacks that they set up at the beginning of an episode and then pay it off later, even if it's like a simple thing of like, the guy calls him Willy Wonka and stuff, and then at the end playing Pure Imagination at the very end of an episode. Like, there's so many like smart, small decisions that they make, and there's like some cinematic stuff in this. There was a very like hypnotic montage in episode 1 of like the door hitting the bar after every take, and it was just like the rhythm of the scene and the edit. Even in this most recent episode, seeing the kid like de-age through the slide. He was at the top of the slide, and he wants to redo the experiment because he missed it. He missed 9 years of the kid's life because he went away for a few weeks, and we're gonna start over. And he just goes through the slide, and he's a new kid. It's just like, man. And with all that, it's there's still some very funny moments. Easily for me, the first episode is definitely like the most laugh out loud for me. And the moment that got me so much was when they're doing like the daily walk, and they're trying to like incept the trivia questions, and just by seeing them like the 4 or 5 back to back to back, and just like, oh, what are they building? It looks pretty tall. I was like, yeah, it is gonna be tall, but it's not gonna be the tallest. That's the Wiz Khalifa, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's in there. Oh, really? Yeah, that's the tallest building in the world. That it's just like,
man.
But yeah,
no one shoots no pulp though.
Yeah.
It's just like you're at a bar and you're.
And with pizza, I don't know.
Oh
Well,
my God.
I wonder if he was doing that because he didn't want to drink 60 drinks over the course
That
of
is
a day.
also
You know what I
probably
mean?
true. But you can also have too much vitamin C. That could also
That's true.
be something too.
Yeah.
That's true.
But all right. Yeah, so much to break down. I'm sure we'll have some thoughts. Maybe in a couple weeks we'll talk about the finale and like a quick check or something. But please, HBO Max Discovery Plus people, keep giving Nathan money. Just keep giving him money. Yeah. All right. Well, we're sticking with HBO tonight. HBO Max, we got another show, Industry, Season 2. The premiere was called Daddy. Let's see. August 1st was when episode 1 aired. Episode 2 is going to air later tonight, but we're only going to talk about the premiere. And this series follows a group of young graduates who, after competing for a limited set of permanent positions at a prestigious investment bank in London, they start their first year as employees in this very competitive and cutthroat world. Now, if you're like me and were unable to find a season 1 recap online on YouTube to just explain what happened so long ago with this show, we got you covered. I had to listen to this myself. We talked about every episode of season 1 on the podcast, and we recut it into an episode we released a few weeks ago. So we have a full season 1 episode by episode recap of Industry if you want to check that out. But we're talking about season 2 tonight. Kyle, what do you remember from season 1, and what did you think of the season 2 premiere?
I gotta be honest, I don't really remember how season 1 left off. I know that Harper and I forgot her name. Yasmin were on the outs, even though they kind of were like frenemies the whole time.
Yeah.
And then Robert and Yasmin had like this thing going on, but that kind of fizzled out because she was using like sex as power when she was feeling powerless, and then she had that whole thing with the Irish dude, which was wild. So they all had their struggles and their moments, and that guy died in there. So a lot happening. Then we see in the second season premiere, Eric's back because Harper did the takedown of the other.
Lied and took down someone else, which makes it a very awkward situation at work. Maybe that's why she didn't want to go back.
Yeah. And the thing is like she picked her poison too, because now she gives Eric control again. And in the episode, he's trying to kind of lay down the law, and she even brings it up. Like, just remember, who got this to where it is now, kind of thing. And I think that's going to be a power struggle for a long time with them, because she used it to leverage to get to a higher point, but I don't think it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows with that dude.
And I think Eric is already, you could tell, he has like brushed this off. Like, sure, he got this like pretty big, serious warning here, and it's just like
he was fired. He was gone.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like he should have taken that as like, maybe I shouldn't do. He's back to his old self. There's no change. He is the season 1 Eric that we know, and it's just making it hard for Harper to like. In the show, we jump pretty much a year. Like in the show, we kind of get this time jump montage through the pandemic. The pandemic has happened in this show, and she's been working from home, and we later kind of figure out it's not because like she's COVID conscious, too much here. She's kind of using it and not as like an excuse, but pretty much like a reason not to go back to face all these people, to face Eric, to all the other people, Yasmin, all these people in the office that she doesn't want to deal with face to face. And there's going to be a lot of drama between, I mean, as I just mentioned, Yasmin, this new character that she's meeting at the hotel, which we'll get to in a second. But John, before I get all there, I got to hear what you thought of the season 2 premiere.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I edited it and listened to the recap, and I still was kind of like, I gotta remember what's going on here. So I would have liked maybe a little bit nicer recap on HBO's end, but we kind of hopped back into it. Yeah, there's been a year gap, but I mean, the status quo still kind of feels the same as where we left off. I feel like, like we said, she's Harper's at odds with Yasmin, and Eric's still kind of being a dick to everybody, and they're still trying to make money. Except now, the pandemic. Are we gonna cut you guys? We're gonna cut somebody else, and now there's more stakes, and it's like it feels like it left off where we were, which isn't a bad thing,
Yeah, right back into this world. It was just we were right back into industry. Definitely feeling the stress, from Eric, from Yasmin, all these people. But now she has a new addition. Harper is trying to kind of, trying to get on her side, and that's Jesse Bloom. It's played by Jay Duplass, a new character in season 2. He's a hedge fund manager named Mr. COVID, and a lot of these articles about him because he really used the pandemic for some financial gain here. What do you think of this new character, Kyle?
I found him interesting because he does have this, we don't really know much about him because he's mysterious. Harper's trying to use him, basically. She's trying to eventually use him, but he's not stupid. I think he eventually recognizes it, but I do think he sees something in Harper that's in himself. And so, anything that Harper revolves around is always a tumultuous kind of relationship. So I imagine that it is going to be with him. But I don't think he's dumb. I think he's, smart. And will he use her? I mean, if he's able to get money from the pandemic, he's able to, do certain things, I'm guessing, to make money. And will he use Harper? Who knows?
Yeah. And it looks like Harper's going all in on this. She skipped some big breakfast with Eric and a client to attend his Q&A. And it sounds like, this guy's a big deal because, like, there's at one point, I think they were all talking in the office of this, like Jesse Bloom, like, yeah, like, where is he? Like, where is he? If only they, I don't know, probably looked at any pamphlet or online thing of promoting this Q&A, they would find out he's in London. But anyways, it's like, here we go. I'm just worried that, like, come whatever, Monday morning, Tuesday, when Harper goes back, Eric's gonna love this that she skipped out on this, and I will say there was this one moment where like Eric's like, you need to work on your anger. I just want to be like, where do you think she gets this from, Eric?
Yeah,
learned it from you, Dad.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about Harper. I want to talk a little bit about Yasmin. I feel like it's gonna be a dark season for her. Not only did she kind of lose a big client in this premiere episode, but there's this fighting competitive nature with Harper, who is, I guess, hooking up sometimes with Robert. Like sometimes, and obviously there's this whole sort of relationship-ish thing with Yasmin, which we had a lot of examples that I completely forgot in that clip show of their relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
But even in this episode, you're seeing when one is having sex with somebody else or hooking up with somebody else, they're thinking of that other person. Like, or at least I'm assuming they are. I mean, they're having trouble in other situations, and it's maybe they're hung up on these other people. And so,
Yasmin is. I don't know.
It's
man.
trouble.
I feel like she's in trouble, and also she gets herself in these, I don't know, situations. But I also feel bad for her because think about how she was harassed all last season, and then in order to feel some type of power, she was using that over Robert in the only way that she figured she could, sexually or whatever. But now I feel like every time she might have a leg up at Pier Point or whatever, she gets knocked down. Her harasser's back. And she can't even leverage power over the new intern because people don't think that's
broken.
who she is. But yet she's like, this is what I had to endure. And now you're coming in like, oh, that's not how, Gen Z does it anymore. Like, I'm not gonna be talked to like that. And she's like, wait, I had to put up with all this stuff. The pandemic happens and now we're back and everything's hunky dory for everyone. And I'm still, she probably still feels at the lower end of the totem pole still, and still feeling like she must prove herself, which was marked by that conversation with the dude that her big client, when he was like, I would just want you to be freer. And so he like hooked her up in a business sense or connected her with somebody else at Pier Point, but that has weird vibes written all over it, right? That had some weird, strange things going on there.
Yeah, she mistakes that person that works at Pier Point for a prostitute. That was a good first impression, but there's gonna be I feel like a lot of battles this season. I mean, New York versus London, just in general, it seems like they're kind of building this between the two branches there. Yasmin versus Harper, which, like we said, even Yasmin and maybe versus herself. I mean, there's a moment when Kenny, who now seems like sober and happy and even helpful, is kind of like warning her to get help. And it's just like, like if other people are seeing this, soon, I'm sure it's kind of this self-destructive thing here. So I'm worried for that character there. I don't know, some other questions I got to just run through. It's like, maybe I missed this. Who do we know who Harper is DMing throughout the episode in that like Instagram account?
The only thing I can think of, remember she had like the boyfriend at the beginning of last. And I think, she's realizing after the pandemic or through the pandemic, he found somebody that he's happy with, and it's not her. And she's still living off that because she's in the finance world, didn't find anybody, probably pandemic, no one knew. And now she's feeling left out. That's what I assume. Yeah. That's who I assume.
Yeah. And then one last question. Is Gus still on this show? I know he kind of like left in a blaze of glory at the end of last season. He didn't care about his spot, so he kind of gave like a dumb little, F off speech for the interview at the end there. But
he's in the
can you pull up the
right?
poster again? Yeah, I think he's in the poster. So
and he was in the episode, but he had something like covering his hair. Maybe it's the dye job that he has in the.
Yeah, maybe I missed it. So we'll see if he's
was
back.
That him with the dye job?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, so he was in the episode for like 3 seconds. Then.
Yeah, he had like.
I didn't even recognize him.
His head, yeah.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see. Next week if we get any more of Gus and what goes on between Yasmin and Harper. Yeah.
One more addition we had the dude from that was brought in from New York who just seems annoying.
Yeah. A lot of Americans in this world here. We'll have to see how they all end up working out. But all right, that is industry. I think we're all going to keep watching it. So we have no time tonight. We ran out of time, but we're going to do it anyways because we're off next week. We'll squeeze them in real quick, guys. Let's go. Come on. Quick check. We'll speed through them. We'll just give a little highlights here of what we've been watching on our own. I'm going to start off with mine, The Bear. It's about a young chef from the world of fine dining who comes back home to Chicago to run his family's kind of Italian beef sandwich shop after the suicide of his older brother. 8 episodes dropped on June 23rd. I've only seen like 3 or 4 episodes so far, but I'm into it. You're kind of thrown into this chaotic world. You feel like you're in the cramped kitchen with them. There's a lot of shouting. It reminds me a bit of Uncut Gems, with like just the stress of the kitchen environment, the fast-paced dialogue. You might miss something, when somebody oversteps on somebody else's line. It feels real. The whole thing with everything going on with the kitchen. There's a lot of yelling, specifically from Ebon Moss Bacharach, I believe is his name. You may remember him from Girls or The Dropout, the cousin of our main character. And yeah, they're short, but they're entertaining episodes. I really like the lead, Jeremy Allen White, and his sous chef there, Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guest stars I saw. We get glimpses of Joel McHale, which makes me think that we're gonna have like a flashback episode of his time in the fine dining world. And then John Bernthal might be on the list to come as well.
Yeah. Cool.
But Kyle, I know you've been watching. Have you liked The Bear so far?
I do like The Bear. I think the way they shoot it lends itself to that stressful kitchen nature. I will say sometimes I have to be in the mood to watch it because it is a lot of yelling. It's like, I don't know if I'm ready for just nonstop yelling for like 30 minutes, but I do enjoy it. And yeah, there's it is hectic. It is a cool watch. And the dynamics are interesting. So yeah.
All right, so that's The Bear. Kyle, what do you got?
I think I've seen all the episodes that are available for The Resort, which I believe is 4 at this point. Interesting show. Kind of gives me Only Murders in the Building vibe. It's like a little bit lighter fare, but they're on like this detective crime kind of thing. Basically, they're at a resort. They're on their, anniversary. They're trying to rekindle a flame. She finds some evidence in a past crime, and we're getting flashbacks of that time where these people during a different time, and then Kristen Milotti and the other guy. Sorry, I can't remember his name.
William Jackson Harper.
What they're doing, and we get these juxtapositions. There's a little bit of spirituality, like kind of like science fiction-y, not science fiction, but like supernatural type vibe to it as well. It's interesting. I wouldn't say I love it, but I do like it. The mystery is interesting. It has some funny jokes in here. I don't think we're using the characters to the best of their, or like actors to the best of their ability, because we have Nick Offerman in it and we barely see him. But I am interested to see where they go, so I will keep watching it. I was hesitant the first couple episodes, but they've got me hooked now. All
right, and that's The Resort. That's on Peacock.
Yep.
I had The Bear is on Hulu now, if you want to check that out. But John's is not on a streaming service because it's not a show. John, what do you got?
I have Shotgun King: The Final Checkmate, which is a game. I took part in an event over the last week called Tiny Teams 2022, where a publisher got together a whole bunch of small game developers and basically gave out copies of the games or demos or whatever state they were in. So I've been playing games nonstop, but this one stood out to me. Basically what it is chess, but with a big twist. You are the king of your team. It's only you, and you have a shotgun. And so you can shoot the other chess pieces. You have to move in the same way the king does. The other chess pieces move the same way they do, but it ends up being a turn-based puzzle game almost, where, you start out and there's a king, 2 bishops, and 3 pawns. And that's, the first round, and you have to move, and you only have a certain number of shots, and every time you shoot or move, the other people get to make certain moves, based on how their speed or whatever. And if you run out of ammo, you can't shoot, you have to move, and every time you move, you can reload. And so it ends up being a very interesting turn-based like puzzle game based on top of chess. And as you play, you get some power-ups, so, maybe you can move 2 squares, or maybe you can shoot farther, or every time you get one of those power-ups, you also get something bad. So maybe an extra queen is in play, or maybe you can't kill the queen at all, or maybe they send extra bishops after the 4th turn. So it becomes a very, very interesting strategy game. And after you capture a special piece, say like a knight or anything like that, you can hold its soul, and for one time you can move like that one piece. So it's kind of almost like a little get out of jail free card where, you know, you're surrounded and you're in checkmate, but you can move like a bishop and get out of there real quick. Or, you know, or maybe you're in checkmate, but you know if you shoot somebody, you won't be in checkmate anymore. And so you can shoot them and get, you know, and not be in checkmate anymore. So there's some very interesting tactics, and I'm not the greatest at it, but it's a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun playing.
If chess wasn't already complicated enough, add in a gun.
Yeah.
So my question is, can you shoot long range, or is it shoot just to where you're
Just
the
shotgun.
next
So-
where you can shoot where the king can go? Basically.
Yeah, so you can shoot long range. You have a spread angle and a distance that you can shoot. And so the
okay.
further you shoot, the more likely it is to hit more people but for less damage. So
Okay.
and there is a fall off where you can't hurt anyone anymore, or there's a chance that you hurt them or miss. So there is some tactical advantage to how far away you are, and there are some perks where, like, you know, maybe if you're directly next to somebody, your firing arc is really small, but you get extra firepower. Or if you're on the edge of the board, you can shoot further. Or, you know, there's a ton of different bonuses you can get. So it's very interesting. I've been having a lot of fun playing it.
And where can you find it?
It's on Steam right now.
Steam. Okay.
So it might be other places as well, but that's the place I'm playing it is through Steam.
All right. That's it. That's all we got for this week's episode. Like I said, we went a little long tonight because next week we're technically off. We're still going to have a live show in our Twitch stream on Monday night. This is going to be an Emmy clip show episode to make sure you're ready for September's Emmys. It's a compilation of some of our coverage of these Emmy-nominated series to get you all caught up for that ceremony. And then following that, it's a big episode. It's going to be a big one. Better Call Saul, the series finale, and then the House of the Dragon premiere, the Game of Thrones spinoff on HBO. So a big drama night in 2 weeks. And you can find these episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com, and Twitch. Twitch.tv/doredundancy, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights. That's where we'll be streaming these shows. You can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Do Redundancy to make sure you never miss anything Do Redundancy related. I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight, for going a little bit long. Kyle, always, you know, those hot takes. And John, directing the show. I couldn't do it without you guys.
Yeah, man.
All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Irwin.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody. Don't put it at the end, John. Don't do it.